Hello and welcome to Art and Objects July 2011 catalogue. This really is a potpourri, a real mix of fascinating collections with wonderful backstories. Behind James and myself here is the most extraordinary creation by Barry Ferguson, and one of the real highlights of this catalogue that I'm going to talk to you about in just a second is this extraordinary collection of floral and botanic art. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. The auctions are this week on Wednesday and Thursday at 6:30 New Zealand time. On Wednesday, of course, we have the Barry Ferguson Floral Collection and the Objects and Decorative Arts. And on the Thursday evening, we have Explorer and Artifacts. And now James and myself are going to take you through some of our favourite pieces in this wonderful and fascinating catalogue. The Barry Ferguson collection of floral and botanic art is something a bit special. He has had a long and really glorious career as a florist to the stars in New York for 30 years, and in the course of his career he built this fabulous collection. The star of the show, in my opinion, is this magnificent New Zealand native flower splay signed E.I. Featon. Now, we're making the attribution to E.I. Featon, and collectors should be aware of this. I think that this is most probably Sarah Featon and is one of the most largest, detailed and magnificent floral artworks from New Zealand in the 19th century. A veritable encyclopedia of New Zealand native flowers as depicted in the 19th century, and of course this was part of I guess the first flowering of New Zealand publishing in native flora and fauna, and we think of course of Buller's Birds as being the landmark publication from that period. It is extremely rare to see a watercolour of this scale and in this pristine condition from this period. It really is a treasure. We have the New Zealand section, which includes some very early hand-coloured engravings, including the Sydenham Edwards works, which are very well known, right through to contemporary New Zealand floral art, the highlights being very rare, very hard to find works by Audrey Eagle, who has really written the definitive book and is regarded as, I guess, the doyen of New Zealand botanic artists in the contemporary period. We have a section of historic watercolours and hand-coloured engravings, as I mentioned, some of which go back to the 1700s. We have a lovely section, the Primula auriculas, the primroses, Barry's favourites, and then we have this quite large section of contemporary botanic art from the 1980s to the 1990s. I'm holding this book here, which is the definitive text. This is written by Shirley Sherwood, and it's called A New Flowering, and many of the artists in this publication are included in Barry's collection. So what we really have is an absolutely high quality best of selection of botanic art from the early days through to contemporary botanic art, and you see a wonderful richness and a continuation of that tradition.
And probably the pick of the Len Castle in this auction are the three bottle vases that we have up here. Nice to see three of them together because they work so well as a group, and of the three of them, this one is probably the better of the three. They're all fabulous, obviously. This one has this Jun type glaze coming over the Timoko, very much influenced by Shoji Hamada, so you can see the Japanese influence coming through in this bottle vase. This sale has a very strong modern design component, and I guess in the design in this collection, this is probably the pick. It is a New Zealand-made chair designed and made by John Jansen, but designed by Bob Rakima. Now these chairs are very, very rare, don't come to the market very often, but it does retain beneath the Sanderson upholstery this original red cloth fabric. So this would have been original to the chair. They kind of personify that sort of design of the 50s. So a really interesting New Zealand chair.
This handsome fellow is a model of one of the great planes of maritime history. This is the Boeing 314, the Clipper, the mighty Clipper. Now this particular model has a very important New Zealand connection because it's NC 18602, this very plane which flew to New Zealand in 1941, the famous journey as World War II was breaking out. And that led to one of the great stories, one of the romantic stories of this particular plane returning to San Francisco The Long Way Home, which is in fact is the title of a book about that journey. These particular models, these sturdy aluminium models, were issued by Pan Am in the late 1930s. They're extremely rare, and they were issued to the travel agents that promoted the individual routes. And of course this one is the Pacific Clipper, the one with the New Zealand connection. This Discovery collection begins with what must be one of the earliest and rarest of New Zealand collectibles, the Resolution and Adventure Medal from 1772. Now these medals were minted by Joseph Banks for the second voyage, and they were used by Captain Cook and his officers as trading tokens or as indications of their first arriver status. They're hugely collected. I think there's one in the Te Papa collection, there's one in the Art Gallery of New South Wales, but they're very rare, and this is something quite extraordinary. We've got two from this collection, one of which is referred to as a field example. So it has corrosion, it has quite intense weathering on it, and it's obvious that this one has passed through many hands. The other one is a near pristine, quite extraordinary. 240 years old, this Resolution and Adventure Medal, and really takes us back to the early days of Pacific exploration. But the story of New Zealand, certainly the European history of New Zealand in the early 19th century, is all about whaling. And this is an extraordinary example of scrimshaw, the whaler's art. This particular piece of scrimshaw is quite unique in that it is dated and it is signed and it refers to a specific ship. And it is dated January the 28th, 1860, so really quite extraordinary. What we do know is that in 1864, the ship the Pacific from Hobart, the Sherbert family was a great whaling family from Hobart, ran aground and was wrecked on Stewart Island in a huge storm. It also has an absolutely delightful inscription that reveals something of the thinking and the soul of the whaler's life. Sudden death to our best friends, success to their killers, long life to our sailors' wives, and greasy luck to the whalers.
So in this group of sails we have our best ever offering of oceanic material and Māori artefacts. Probably one of my personal favourite pieces in the catalogue is this superb figure supported bowl carved by Anaha Tirahui. It's a piece carved in about 1870, exceptionally well carved by the master carver, Anaha Tirahui. It is the first one of these boxes, the first one of these Ngāti Tarawhai boxes that has actually been signed by Anaha. And we can see in beautiful old Māori script across the back of one of these wrestling chiefs on the lid, we can see the signature. The lid fits into the bowl by way of the tongues protruding from the figures on the side. So the detail work on this piece is exceptional. And one of the picks of the pieces in this collection is this very, very good Miripo Namu that is provenance to the Ngāpuhi chief Timuringa, and it dates from 1820, or was given in 1820 to Timuringa as a peace offering. What is extraordinary about this mere is that it actually has written provenance that accompanies it, which you really, if ever, see on the market these days. It has a letter which is passed on down through the family, which provenances back to 1820. A lot of tikis that we see on the market actually come from adzes, so adzes that are then recarved in contact period times, and then the tiki are traded. This predates that. This is a nice early tiki. And the tiki also has a really nice letter of provenance. It was given by a sister in the 1950s to her brother for gifts of kindness. So it kind of personifies what these little hei tiki are about as well, I think. And it really has a beautiful feel about it, this tiki. We're also quite privileged, I think, in this sale to be offering a Māori kuri dog. So to my knowledge, there's only two taxidermied kuri dogs. This one and one that's in the Te Papa collection. Now the kuri dog did not survive the contact period, so when a European species came to New Zealand, the kuri dog did not survive that. So by 1850 or thereabouts, the kuri dog was completely extinct. The Maori dog was gone. So what is curious about this is, 1850 is still relatively early in New Zealand history, so to see a taxidermied kuri specimen in this kind of condition, or just to see one at all, is very, very extraordinary. Because the taxidermists that came here much later. It's one of those very, very difficult things to value because it is almost completely unique. Certainly as a head-mounted kuri, it is unique. So I think it should sell very, very well, should excite quite a few collectors, this piece, because it is such an important historical piece. We have a collection of Aboriginal lithic artefacts, so very, very, very early artefacts, collected by, I presume, a New Zealand collector and then brought back here. Collected in Australia in the 1950s, and there was a collection of over 500 pieces assembled. And what's really nice about this collection is he assiduously recorded where each of the specimens were found. A museum reference collection in some ways, particularly with this careful note-taking that accompanies it.
All of the items in the current catalogue are on view as we speak at Art and Object, 3 Abbey Street. Of course, you can view them online. Our international clients and followers have been bidding recently on liveauctioneers.com, and the complete catalogue is loaded on Live Auctioneers right now, so you can go and view it there. Of course, we have the internet streaming facility, which we'll be having for this auction, so you will be able to actually see the auction taking place, and we've had wonderful feedback on that. So we look forward to seeing you over the next couple of days and a successful auction on Wednesday and Thursday.